Hey, it's Adrielle, and I am here to provide a quick update on how things are going with my DEI or Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Consulting business. I have officially been at it for about 2.5 years, although it's closer to 3 because I actually filed for my LLC back in December 2019 and launched my business in March of 2020. What a time to launch a business. But I just wanted to pop in and provide some updates because I've had a lot of folks reaching out, asking me how it's going, would I recommend being an entrepreneur, what are some of the challenges, et cetera, et cetera. And so I thought I'd do a quick video to try to answer some of those questions and just provide some general updates. So let's get into it. Let's start off by talking about the things that are going well, because, let's start this conversation with some positivity. You know what I'm saying? So things that are going well. I have said this time and time again, and it just simply hasn't changed. The number one sort of success factor, if you will, for me has been networking. So prior to launching my business, I was networking with as many people as possible, asking questions about how they were running their consulting businesses, asking DEI practitioners how they were structuring their work, speaking to consultants that were in completely different areas or fields, not even touching DEI. So I spent a lot of time doing that. I also spent a lot of time telling people that I already worked with my plans, right? That I was going to try launching my own business for a few months. And, if they had any leads, anyone that they thought would be good to connect me with, please do so. And that was so powerful. It helped me launch my business and quickly generate revenue. I talked about it in some earlier videos, so definitely go back if you want to get the full story. But that's the quick TLDR or Cliff Notes version of my journey so far. But networking has been the number one success factor for me personally. I still have not done any sort of traditional, what is it called? I think they're called RFPs. Right? They're called RFPs. Requests for proposals. Yes, requests for proposals. So I haven't done any formal RFPs. And not to say that's a bad approach, right? For some people that does work where you submit a proposal to a project that you're interested in. I just simply haven't really come across any. And also I don't like applications. It's part of the reason why I still haven't attempted to apply to a doctoral program. I don't like the process of applying to something and having to be graded, and that's a whole nother video. But I say all that to say it is one avenue, but it is not the avenue that I chose to take. For me, it was the power of networking. It has and continues to be the power of networking that has allowed me to build my DEI consulting business. In addition to me securing clients through networking, just building a network of other DEI professionals and practitioners has been incredibly valuable, not only for my mental health, but also allowing me to continuously learn. That has been one of the best resources, is just simply speaking to other people, learning from, their wins, their successes, their struggles, their challenges, their roadblocks, and vice versa, sharing that as well. And I think I've said it a ton of times, but I love collaborating with people. So it's been amazing to collaborate with a bunch of other folks in the area as well, a number of whom I still have yet to actually see face to face. A lot of my clients and a lot of my network is actually entirely virtual. I have yet to see some folks in the flesh, but I hope to meet you at some point. The second thing that has worked really well for me is really coming to terms with knowing and understanding my worth and being able to say no. Now, of course, that comes with some level of privilege. And what I mean by this is I am not at a place where I take in every prospective client or every person that reaches out to work with me. I have become more selective, and I'm grateful that I am in a place where I can be more selective about the types of projects that I work on. For me, it's really important that I work on projects that fulfill me, that I enjoy doing, and that also challenge me in some way. So I try to avoid projects that I know aren't going to allow me much growth, but are just sort of, I wouldn't say low-hanging fruit per se, but I'm not a fan of just kind of skating through work. I like to be hit with some roadblocks and some challenges. And I really believe that's part of having a growth mindset and wanting to continuously educate yourself. And so being able to say no to things that I'm not interested in. Also being able to say no to projects that I know aren't a good fit for me. For example, if someone came to me and wanted to do a really heavy data analysis type of DEI project, that's not my bag. And I am not going to take that on. However, because I've built my network, it's very likely that I will try to connect them to someone else that I know is an expert in that area or really passionate about that type of work. The other thing related to that, me saying no, is also recognizing when someone is trying to, I don't know another term for this, but sort of lowball me. I've had people push back on my rates and my pricing, which I've worked really, really hard to make sure is fair and aligned with my level of experience and knowledge and all of that. And so in the event, and it does occasionally happen that someone's like, oh, but can you do it for this amount? And I'm not seeing any reason why you can't pay me. For example, you're not a nonprofit, you are not you're not owned by, a group of people that have been historically and systemically marginalized. If I see, in a recent news article that you just got X amount of funding or investors, to me, that kind of raises a red flag, not only in terms of you trying to support me as a Black woman working in this space, but also it makes me question how invested you truly are when it comes to DEI, which is absolutely a business imperative and should be treated as you treat any other business imperative or portion of your business. So I just touched on this third area or topic, but figuring out what your primary areas of focus are and sort of your niche or your specialty can be extremely valuable. So again, when it comes to me saying no to certain projects, it is very much tied to me making sure that it fits within the type of work that I like to do and that I enjoy doing and that I'm actually good at doing, right? And so when I started my business, I rarely said no to things and I tried to do as much of everything as possible. Now, again, that is not the case. I've sort of narrowed down my areas and I pretty much stay in my lane. The fourth thing that's worked really well for me, and I suppose you can also consider these areas of learning, is not being afraid to adjust my pricing. As with a lot of things, a one-size-fits-all approach just does not work. And so I've had to figure out when and where and how to adjust my pricing to fit specific clients. And I just have to sometimes check myself, like, this is your business. You have autonomy and control over these things. So adjust it. Like, duh, girl. And so sometimes I have to check myself and just keep that top of mind. This is your business. You get to decide what your prices are. You get to decide what services you offer. You get to decide what the branding looks like, the nomenclature of things, the whatever, it's yours. And so keeping in mind that you own all of these things, this is yours, this is your baby in a way, right? And so treating it as such and not being afraid to iterate and change at any given moment. Change is inevitable. And so the more comfortable you can be with change as it relates to pricing or your services or offerings or whatever it is, I truly believe the better off and more successful you can be as an entrepreneur, especially as a solopreneur. My fifth learning, or I keep saying I don't know what to call these things that are going well, right? The fifth thing that I'll mention is that I finally found someone to help me with all the things. So it took some time, but I did hire a coordinator. I found someone who was flexible, who was okay knowing that I might need them for a few hours this week, may not need them next week, may need them for a few hours this month, but not next month. Like, I found somebody who was flexible in that sense. Someone had asked me, I think in the comments of a previous video, or either emailed me and asked me why I would have hired a coordinator early on in my journey, or what a coordinator would have done for me, or even an assistant. For me, it's been a number of things. This person was able to help me think through organizing my clients so that I have a better sense of, my revenue and projects that are coming in and out month to month. This person was able to help me declutter my email my inbox and add some filters, some folders, triage emails so that I'm not parsing through, newsletters and events and trying to dig through and find which emails are from actual clients versus which are automated. This person also helped me with social media. So there were a number of things that I needed help with. And I think my hesitation with hiring a coordinator is that I don't know. I had a fear, right, of just kind of letting go of certain things. I tend to be very type A, and it's not always good. And so I had to get to a place where I became more comfortable with letting go and actually asking people for help with things that were related to my business. I think now as I'm talking and thinking through this, I think one of the issues that I have with hiring someone to help me with various aspects of my business is that I am providing a service and not a product. In my mind, it would be a lot easier for me to hire an assistant or coordinator to help me with a business that is generating or selling some sort of product or a software as a product or whatever that is, right? But I am the product when I think about it. And so I like to be very careful with that, I guess. I don't want to lose myself in this journey. And I'll talk about the challenge in a bit of navigating this sort of social media influencer environment that we're in. But I don't want to lose myself. I don't want to lose who I am. I don't want to lose my humility. I was about to say humanity, Jesus. Humility. And I recognize that a lot of my success, in addition to the networking, as I always say, has been attributed to me just being myself. And so to have someone else come in, whether that be an assistant coordinator, whomever, and kind of take over parts of that, I struggle with. And so, I'm kind of just going on, but I'll leave it at that. And then the sixth and final learning that I'll touch on today, and apologies, I'm kind of looking at my notes. My brain is all over the place, but the sixth thing that I'll touch on is that I've had to learn how to diversify my income streams, and it's still a learning journey for me and a work in progress. I mentioned this in a previous video, but when I first started my business, I was charging an hourly rate for everything. And I quickly realized that that was not working. I was getting burnt out, but not making enough. I was devaluing myself in a lot of ways, but I just didn't know. Again, I'm gonna keep plugging my network. People in my network were like, two finger tap, hey girl, you might wanna review your pricing and bump that up because your worth is not being reflected in your rates. And so, again, this goes back to not being afraid to adjusting your pricing, but I've also had to learn that I cannot just rely on my time as a consultant to generate income. And so even when I'm doing hourly consulting, there are moments when I get burnt out. When I'm doing workshops and facilitating discussions back to back, I get burnt out. And so having something to fall back on has been a blessing. And so right now, my focus in terms of building passive income has been on creating courses. So I have several e-learning courses that I'm working on now. And I've also been focusing a lot more on content. So creating videos, writing blog posts. I'm also starting to play with converting some of my blog posts into articles on LinkedIn. So I'm just exploring different avenues. There are also some avenues outside of DEI that I'm exploring, such as coaching. And I mentioned early on, shameless plug, that I am launching a group coaching program for Black women. And so those are just different areas that I'm exploring in terms of creating or generating additional income streams that aren't just focused on my hourly time. So some of the challenges. So I spent a lot of time reflecting on this before I hit record, and there are really just two areas that for me have posed major challenges as an entrepreneur, not specific to being a DEI consultant or entrepreneur, but just being a entrepreneur, solopreneur in general. The first thing Finances and taxes. I severely underestimated how ignorant I was and still am to all that goes into finances, accounting, bookkeeping, taxes, choosing between an LLC and an S Corp and whatever else. And full disclaimer, I'm not giving any tax, legal, business advice today. I'm just sharing what's going on with my journey and what I've experienced. But I have found it so challenging to juggle and to force myself to prioritize the financial and tax pieces of my business. And so that has, of course, posed some challenges. For example, I was given the advice early on before I even launched my business to make sure that I pay quarterly taxes. I mean, it sounded like good advice. I probably should have did it. Did I do it? No, I didn't. And now I'm, wishing I had. But listen to the advice that people give you. I'm not giving you advice again. This is not legal advice, tax advice, none of that. I'm just telling you my journey. But I wish I had listened to and really spent more time on learning more about finances, taxes, etc. Because I think it would have saved me so much headache. And I've connected recently with some of my friends and others that are entrepreneurs and consultants, and they too have mentioned this being a pain point. So it seems to be a universal thing. I don't know who's out there helping entrepreneurs like myself who, quite frankly, I need to be micromanaged when it comes to finances and taxes. And so whoever's out there who can support that, who is supporting that, please drop a comment because I will certainly check out your services and also plug you. And to be fair, I've worked with some really great finance, accounting, bookkeeping folks since I've launched my business, but I still feel like I need to learn more. I need, what is it called? Not high touch. Maybe it is high touch. I don't know. I need to be, again, micromanaged in this area. And so I guess part of this journey is also just learning some of your weaknesses, being really introspective, recognizing the things that you may or may not be good at, and not feeling ashamed about it or beating yourself up about it, but figuring out, okay, so what's the next step? Like, I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not going to kick, scream, sit here and ruminate over it. Why did I do this? Why did I do that? I'll take a moment and reflect on why I moved how I moved, and then reflect on how I can not move in that same way going forward and figure out what the resources are. Growth mindset. Another challenge that is related to finances, so I'll say this is like a sub challenge of finances, is I keep saying this, I'm a natural learner. And so I have wanted to explore other things in addition to, I'll say, my bread and butter, which is DEI and coaching. I've wanted to explore other things, but finding that balance between being able to generate the income that I need from the things that I know I'm good at and have my skills built already in, and starting to, upskill myself in other areas, which are not paying my bills as of now, has been a bit of a struggle. So just finding that balance of, okay, you're able to take on this many clients, projects, etc., and still generate enough income, but you still gotta make a little time, right, for the things that you're trying to learn. And so that has posed a challenge. But as of now, as of today, this week at least, I feel pretty good, and I've been a lot better about time management. The last thing that I'll touch on, and probably the most important, is mental health. I have been a firm believer and advocate for mental health, especially as it relates to Black people, for a very, very long time. I have had therapists over the years, plural therapists over the years. So I've been at this for some time. I actually got to a point where my therapist, my last therapist, pretty much told me I'd graduated from therapy, meaning that I had built up the tools that I needed. I had started to, I was pretty deep into exploring, my trauma, my history, my experiences, and unlearning and learning different behaviors. And that sort of gave me a runway into launching my business. And for that, I'm so, so grateful. And I'll probably do a separate video talking about my mental health journey. Is that as I've gone through this journey of entrepreneurship over the past 2.5 years, I've changed a lot as a person. I've grown in many ways. I've learned more. I've unlearned some habits and beliefs. And so with that change, I've also had to change and shift the way that I manage my mental health. Um, I'm someone who has dealt with pretty severe anxiety. I've dealt with depression and depressive episodes. I have ADHD as well. And so I've had to develop a lot of tools to manage that. And I will say, if nothing else, if you don't do anything else that I've mentioned in this video, make sure that you are taking the time to invest in your mental health journey if you are going to explore entrepreneurship, because at the end of the day, unless you're going into this with, a bunch of partners who are going to hold you accountable on a regular, consistent basis, it's just going to be you in this journey. And so you have to be mindful of that. And you definitely need to be in a good headspace to keep yourself going, to keep yourself motivated. So important. And so I just wanted to bring attention to that. I'm again grateful for my journey that I've had and all the people, the therapists more specifically, that got me to where I am. I am going to start exploring therapy again, not because any particular thing has happened. Actually, it's because some particular things have not happened. In fact, I'm at a place now where I've really been struggling with, and this is me being pretty vulnerable right now, but I'm at a place where I've really been struggling with being single and alone at my age and wanting to actually find someone to date and explore partnership with. I'm good at a lot of things, but when it comes to dating, I strike out. So that has been really challenging at this age, to kind of look around and see, a lot of friends and family that have built families, that have started families. And that's an area of life that you have very limited control over, at least from what I've understood. And yes, I know there are relationship and dating coaches and things like that, but I've realized that this is a universal thing. It's not unique to me. I have plenty of friends that are in the same situation as me. They're, pretty amazing folks, and they have not found partners. And so that is something that has weighed heavily on me, especially this year, and has posed a little bit of a distraction for me in terms of navigating and managing my business. And so I've done what I can to use the tools that I know that I have already to manage that, but I don't think it would hurt for me to bring a professional into my life again to just help me refocus, recenter, find new tools. For example, before the pandemic hit, I started going to yoga. That was a recommendation from one of my therapists, and meditating, doing breath work, and it was transformative. And then the pandemic hit and I stopped, and I haven't really picked it back up. And sure, I could go do that. I don't need a therapist to tell me to go to yoga, but there are other things that I know that I need to explore with the therapist. Just being mindful of myself, being introspective, being aware. That's something that I'm going to do. So again, if you didn't listen to anything else that I said in this sort of recap overview of how things are going, please, if you are exploring entrepreneurship, prioritize your mental health. I have seen a number of people who have been along this journey or started around the same time that I have, who have really struggled to just maintain themselves and to keep it together. And yeah. So that's it. Those are my updates. I hope that whoever's watching this finds this helpful in some way. Hopefully I can help you bypass some of the steps that I had to take or the mistakes that I made, so that you're just more aware of them. But truly, I listen to people talk about their journeys prior to launching, my business, and it's helpful. It's nice to hear, but quite frankly, your journey is just going to be your journey. It's going to be unique to you and your experiences. And so you can do as much preparation as possible, learn as much as possible, but it's still just going to be unique to you. And so just being prepared for that and ready for that, I think can go a long way. So if you have any questions, comments, etc., please leave a comment below. I'm happy to do a follow-up video to answer more specific questions, but I try to capture everything that I thought would be helpful and relevant in today's video, but I'm always happy to share more information as always. But thank you so much for joining. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and of course, drop me a comment. I love feedback. Feedback is a gift, so don't hesitate to leave a comment. Hope to see you all again soon.